What's up, everybody? Welcome to CFP Talks. My name is Jonas, and with me is the handsome, incomparable Mr. Raman Singh. Raman, what's up?
How you doing, Joe? How's it
Yeah,
going, man?
I'm doing good. Raman, I'm running across something right now with people from CFP who are coming to me and going, Joe, I ran through the Q Bank. I twice, two and a half times. I did 2,000, 2,500. I was doing 100 questions a day for like a month and a half, and I failed. How the hell could this happen?
Oh man, if I could get $1 for every time a student told me that, you know,
I'd have
yeah,
at least $100.
at least $100, man. At least like a dinner for a day.
Not at
See, Joe,
least at least coffee
Joe,
money.
yeah, right. Like, hey, you know what? That could be a lot of coffee cups. I'm right there with you. But Joe, when I meet these students and we talk about the reason they failed, and they bring it up to me like, Raman, my Dalton Q Bank, I was scoring in my 80s, or in my Kaplan Q Bank, I was scoring in my 90s, and I still failed the test. And what I tell them is it's because you practiced to take the Dalton CFP exam. You did not
Mm,
practice to take the actual CFP exam.
mm,
And it's two different things, right? Like, I
mm.
mean, people are stepping into these exams. They're like, well, I didn't even remember seeing this on the test. It's kind of like, well, did you really study the material, or did you just aggressively attack the Q bank? This is my number one thing feedback for my students when they fail the test and they've aggressively answered this test bank is, are you really studying for the test, or are you just aggressively attacking the Q bank?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I grew up in an Arab family, right? And nothing is better, more supportive than an Arab family, and nobody will dog you more than an Arab family, right? And so I kind of think about it this way. If I told my family like I'm really good at cooking this meal, and they're like, "Oh, great, come over and cook it." And then I go to somebody else's house and I completely botch it because I'm not in my kitchen with everything that I need doing it in the exact order that I do it, or somebody talks to me, they're gonna be like, "You don't know how to cook. What are you talking about?" And for a lot of us, we get so used to the comfort of our own little box. And the Q Bank becomes that nice box. I know exactly what to do with the Q Bank. I'm going to do easy questions today or hard questions tomorrow, and then I'm going to do advanced. And honestly, CFP doesn't care about that. In fact, if I was a CFP test writer, which I'm not, but if I were a CFP writer, and I would kind of bank on that to see, really, do you really know the information, or do you only know it when it's presented exactly like this? Right? You become like a box cook, so to speak. Like if it comes out of my box with my instructions, I know what to do, but I don't know what order anything goes in if I don't have my what were those subscriptions called that they send you like your meal
The
in a
Hello
box?
Fresh, the Hello
Yeah,
Kitchen.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
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 I'm like I'm a really good box cook, right? And
yeah.
that's what a Q bank I feel like makes you, is like you're really good box cook, because if it's done exactly in this order, but once you take it out of that order, you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what ingredients I need. Honestly, I just follow the directions and I shut off. And I feel like that's what the Q bank ends up doing, is and it's agnostic of the Q bank. That's not specific to Dalton or Kaplan or Zahn or Danko. Any Q bank, if you it's written in a certain way, you start to get used to the questions. You kind of get a sense of what they're getting at. You start to pick up on their patterns, and then you kind of just start knowing what the answer is, not necessarily really knowing why. And here's the thing, if I'm not pressed to tell you why I'm answering, easy day today. I'm just going to
Yeah.
click it, right? But if you sit there and you press me on it, it's going to be a shitty day, right?
And thing is, that's what makes you want to learn more. If you
Right.
think about it, like the more you get pressed on the question, it's funny you say that. So one of the exercises that I do with my students is I'll turn on a question, like I'll put a question up, and I'll say, okay, find the answer, and they'll find the answer. And my next question to them is why? Why did you select this answer? What made you want to select this answer? And find those keywords from the question
Mm.
that takes you to the answer. So
Oh,
that's one
oh,
thing.
I know this one. I know this one. I've done this question before. That's why I pick C.
Right. So you know
Yeah.
what I say to
Mm.
that? Okay, well, tell me why A is not correct or why B is not correct. There has to be a legit argument on why you did not select A or B. And to all the students, if you're taking your 100 question test a day or 200 questions a day, if you're not able to understand why A, B, and D is not the answer or whatever the case is, that means you're sitting there memorizing questions, man. You're
Mm.
not really understanding the material. And in order to successfully pass the CFP exam, we have to understand the material and understand the why behind why we're selecting our answer choices.
Yeah. And I think there's actually even a second thing and a more subtle thing that goes on when you have A, B, C, and D. And I'll notice this with certain Q banks. A, B, C, and D will always like with retirement planning, it'll always be like 69,000 is always one of the answers. And you know, at that point, you start kind of getting trained that if it's not asking the absolute max, then at 69 is automatically out. Right. And then they'll give you some other one. And so you start getting used to like, I can knock two out immediately. I'll read the question real quick. I can knock two out real quick. And now I'm picking between B and C or A and C or D and B. And so you start slicing and dicing the answers to figure out like you're backing the answer into the question as opposed to just answering the question. So you get really good at slicing and dicing. Then the CFP comes around and B and C are so damn close that you can't slice and dice it anymore.
Mhm.
So all I did was I never really answered the question. I picked what looked like the best answer. And that little subtle thing that you don't necessarily realize is even going on is going on. And here's the thing. If my prescription is get through 100 questions, it's a mountain. So I'm going to click through as fast as I can and
Right.
I'm not really slowing down until I see 41, 42. Okay. Okay, now I can slow down. Right? And if that's the way you're approaching it and you're just kind of rushing through questions, you're going to have no idea why you're getting questions right and wrong.
I agree 100%. You know, what students need to understand is that if you're taking this 100 question test a day, the only thing it's benefiting you is it's making you like fast at taking the test, but it's not allowing you to learn the material, right? Like, yeah, we have what 6 hours to take the test. Sure, like yeah, you'll be a fast test taker. But the one silly thing that I say, I know you're based out in California. I tell students like, okay, if you're driving on Highway 1, if you're gonna drive 90 miles an hour on Highway 1, you're not gonna see anything. You might actually get into a car accident.
Yeah,
But the moment you drive 45 miles an hour, right? 40 miles an hour, you get to see the beach, you get to see the mountains next to you, you get to see that cute little wine spot, right? You'll get more awareness of what you're seeing.
that tells us a little bit about you that you noticed the cute little wine spot. Well,
I mean, yeah, it's a pretty little
it's
spot, man. I mean,
cute.
anything on the Highway 1 from Southern California to Northern California, you'll find
Yeah.
like, you'll find
A
great places.
lot
But
of
the
cute,
point,
a lot of cute spots. I like
a
that
lot
about
of
it.
cute little spots.
Yeah.
But thing is, that's the thing about the exam. The exam has cute little things written inside it.
There it
That the
is.
moment you identify that, you're like, okay, like I know what's happening
Ah,
here.
exactly. And more importantly, it's you're picking up on the detail.
Yep, yep.
So you always know where you are. And that's a great analogy because you always know where you are because and here's the thing, that 45 miles an hour might be 50 for some people or 55 and 30 for others. It's your pace that you're seeing the exam. And the better you get at it, the faster you'll be able to go and still maintain your balance. Right? You'll be able to continue doing it. So the speed, everybody's speed is a little bit different. But are you picking up on the detail? And I just actually had this conversation with a student today who took a cumulative exam, was going, I can't believe I just scored a 53. And I'm looking back at the exam, and then there's the dude is 75% of the way there. And the things that he's missing out on is little detail here. Didn't read the question, missed this. didn't know this fundamental. And a lot of times when you're going through, and here's the thing, is that you can never get that from the Q bank. The Q bank is a refinement tool. It's not a learning tool. Because
right?
and you've seen this, man. I had somebody who came to me who's like, I've done 100 questions a day, 30 days in a row. I'm like, that work ethic is incredible to have the discipline, even when you're feeling crappy, having a bad day, to sit there every day after work and do 100 questions every single day is insane. But you're not learning from the Cuban. It just doesn't happen.
One thing I tell my students is like, so, by the way, I don't golf. I'm going to use a golf analogy, but I do not golf, just to say that. But it's like, imagine like you're trying to be better at a swing, right? So you just get a bucket of balls and you go to the driving range and you're just like blindly just like swinging left. Like you spend countless of hours just swinging,
Right.
but then you try to play it like then you try to do an actual swing and you're like, wow, like with my driver, I was only able to go out like 150 yards. Like that's weird. You know, it's because you didn't practice right. You didn't
Mm,
you were you looking away from the ball when you swang? Like were you bending your arm downwards or did you have a clean swing going out? Those little things matter in order for you to be efficient at playing golf or having an efficient swing. The exam is no different. Just because you blindly, just take exam questions 100 a day. Love the work ethic. Love the fact that you're putting in 2, 3 hours doing that. But I would rather have you put the 2, 3 hours in much more strategically,
mm,
right? So when you do need to take that 100 question test, as I call them the benchmark exams, you're gonna be efficient at those questions and
yeah.
actually score better at it.
Yeah. It's again, and we see this in all aspects of life where, and it's a really hard thing to kind of wrap your head around because from the time that we were kids, you're being told the harder you work, the more you're going to get out of it. Right. And hold on a second. We need to qualify that statement. Putting in 3 hours a day into something doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the result that you think just by time. And I think that is a CFP myth that if I put in my 200 hours or 250 or 300, and Raman, we're teaching a class together right now. We have a student that we had to slow down because they were coming in and then we saw the quality increase, and and again, you're just trying to fight against that number, right? That number is really, really important. I got to get to 100 questions. I got to get to 100 questions. Like, I got to get my 10,000 steps a day. Great. If you're eating 6 slices of pizza at night, that's your 10,000 steps don't matter. There has to be a method to what you're doing where what you're doing matters. And so the quality will never outweigh the quantity, or excuse me, the other way around. The
Okay.
quantity will never outweigh how you're doing it. So I want you to think about not just what you're doing, but how you're doing it. And if you're not stopping and thinking, because Raman said this earlier in this episode, I think, or maybe it was the last episode, where you said the CFP is not the Series 7. It is not a memorization exam. You can memorize and put in hours and hours and hours memorize. It's a problem solving exam. That's why everybody walks out going, that feels so subjective. It's not as subjective as you think. It's a problem solving exam. And if you don't practice problem solving, and problem solving takes thought. So if you're just kind of hitting the button and not really thinking about it, you're going to get punished on the exam.
What's that saying? If you're gonna see every problem as a nail, then you're gonna use a hammer as a tool for that problem, right? But
Yeah.
don't look at every problem as a nail, right? Like you have to figure out the why behind it, and then go back into your knowledge base, your fundamentals, and that is the key to passing the CFP exam.
I couldn't agree more. Let's stop right there. That's perfect. Two little gems today. All right, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, with any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to reach out to Raman or myself, and we will see you on our next episode. Take care, everybody.